With a history of great success in motorsports, Mercedes has always produced cars capable of competing at a high level in all the categories it participated in. However, in 1999, a model produced by the manufacturer drew attention in the worst possible way. Due to a critical failure, the CLR prototype took flight on 3 occasions during testing and the race, specifically at the 24 Hours of Le Mans. The accidents forced the organizers to change the rules, and after that, the German brand never participated in the iconic race with its own team again. In the end, why did this happen? After returning to motorsports, Mercedes began supporting various categories such as F1, IndyCar, and the International Touring Car Championship. The ITC had its final season in 1996, and after its conclusion, the German manufacturer looked for a new competition to join. Through AMG, the company turned its attention to the FIA GT and started developing a prototype that would comply with the new regulations. To compete in the 1997 championship, Mercedes developed the street model CLK GTR, which served as a homologation car for the racing version. The CLK won 7 out of 11 races in its debut year, securing the driver's title for Bernd Schneider and the team title for AMG. The next year, the model was updated to the CLK LM version, which included replacing the V12 engine with a smaller and lighter V8. The car was taken to the 24 Hours of Le Mans, where Schneider, Mark Webber, and Klaus Ludwig secured the pole position. However, both the number 35 and 36 cars had to retire from the race due to mechanical failures. In the FIA GT, Mercedes once again became the champion, winning all 10 races. The dominance was so overwhelming that no team agreed to participate in the GT1 category the following year, leading to its abandonment. With nowhere else to go, Mercedes decided to integrate the new class, developing a new prototype for Le Mans. Development began in September 1998, led by HWA GmbH. This time, homologation cars were not required, allowing the prototype to be developed purely for the tracks. This translated into different aspects of the car. The monocoque was smaller and made of carbon fiber and honeycomb aluminum. The body was 10 centimeters shorter compared to the CLK LM model, and the car's nose was lower and flatter. The wheelbase was also shortened, and the weight decreased by 40 kilograms to 900 kilograms. The aerodynamic profile prioritized low drag, especially for the long straights of La Sarthe, and the design was wind tunnel tested at the University of Stuttgart. The lights and grills referenced other Mercedes models, such as the CLK class and CLK. Named CLR, the new model featured the naturally aspirated GT 108C, a 5.7 V8 engine. To transmit power, the same X-Track gearbox used in the LM version was installed, along with the suspension system. The CLR was also taken to Florida for tests at Homestead Miami Speedway and to France, where it was used at Manicourt. At the European circuit, 3 cars completed 30 consecutive hours on the track, covering almost 13,000 kilometers without any issues. The car was then showcased to the press in late April at Hockenheimring. During the event, Mercedes announced that the CLR would participate in various European and American races throughout the year, not limited to just the race at La Sarthe. The drivers mostly came from the FIA GT project, including Christophe Bouchou, Jean-Marc Gounod, Bernd Schneider, Marcel Thiemann, and Mark Webber. From outside the project came Nick Heidfeld, Peter Dumbreck, Pedro Lamy, Frank Lagorze, and Darren Turner. Gounod, Thiemann, and Webber were automatically qualified for the 24 Hours of Le Mans due to their GT title in '98. The other drivers were divided into 2 other cars and had to participate in pre-qualifications to compete. In the session, all teams participated, and Toyota proved to be the fastest with its GT1 model. Mercedes qualified car number 6 in 6th, number 4 in 14th, and number 5 in 15th. During the time trials, one of the models experienced a serious suspension problem and required repairs. This type of failure had not been detected in Mercedes' previous tests, but the team wasn't concerned. Weeks after the session, the AMG team returned to La Sarthe for the final qualifying sessions. In the first time trial, the manufacturer's cars qualified in 5th, 6th, and 8th positions, while Toyota secured the first 2 places. In the second qualifying session, car number 4, driven by Webber, was following Franck Biela's Audi on the stretch before the Indianapolis turn. When Webber left the German slipstream to overtake, the CLR lifted the front of the car, leaving the wheels in the air. The movement continued, and the vehicle lifted off, executing somersaults in mid-air before making contact with the ground and rolling to a halt. The Australian driver was extracted from the car and had to be taken to the hospital with neck, chest, and back pains, but apparently without serious injuries. At the end of the session, Toyota held pole position and second place with cars number 1 and 2. Webber's damaged car held onto the 10th position but needed repairs. The team assured that they could fix the prototype for the race, and for this task, AMG used parts and monocoque from a spare CLR. Mark Webber, in turn, managed to recover and was cleared to compete. Before the race on June 12th, the drivers took to the track for a warm-up session. The Mercedes team managed to repair car number 4 in time, and Mark Webber was able to return to the track to test the model. Early in the session, all 3 cars from the brand were on the track, and near the Mulsanne corner, Webber's CLR got behind a Viper GTSR. As the cars approached the turn, number 4 again lifted its nose, and the Australian once again flew with the car, causing a new serious accident. The Mercedes slid upside down into the runoff area, and Webber emerged dazed but without serious injuries. The red flag was raised. Something was wrong with the CLR, but the engineers were not sure what. Destroyed, car number 4 was withdrawn from the race, and Norbert Haug, head of the brand's Motorsport division, sought help from Adrian Newey, who was with the McLaren F1 team at the time. The drivers were also consulted, and only Christophe Bouchou complained about the model, claiming that the front of the car was too light, a condition that was dangerous at high speeds. As an emergency correction, the team installed small wings on the front and stiffened the rear suspension. The drivers were also advised not to closely follow other cars, thus avoiding the vacuum left by them. Thinking that the cars were now safer, the team followed the plans and brought the remaining 2 CLRs to the race. In the early laps, Schneider's car moved up to 3rd and Bouchou to 4th. After pit stops, Lagors took over car number 6 and Dumbreck took over 5, replacing Bouchou. Although the car seemed to behave well with the modifications, chaos returned to haunt Mercedes. On lap 76, Dumbreck was close to Thierry Boutsen's GT1 as they approached the section between the Mulsanne and Indianapolis corners. At almost 320 km per hour, the two made a slight right turn, and CLR number 5 took off without warning. The car spun 3 times in the air, landing almost 15 meters off the ground before falling off the track into a wooded area. The impact with the ground was so severe that a groove formed at the impact site, and a tree branch entered the monocoque. The remaining CLR of Lagors was ordered to withdraw from the race by AMG itself, which withdrew from the event altogether. The situation was too serious to be ignored. The ACO and FFSA investigated the 3 accidents, questioning the organization about the team's continued participation in the race after the initial 2 accidents. According to the race organizer, the CLR's design was the cause of the problem, and indeed it was. As mentioned earlier, the car's profile aimed at high speeds at Les Sarthe, and for that, the prototype's angle of attack was minus 0.7 degrees, lower than the conventional minus 2.5 degrees. With this, Mercedes expected to achieve less drag and higher speed on the straights. The wheelbase, in turn, was shorter, aiming for better performance in the turns thanks to larger diffusers. The combination of the 2 factors made the car prone to oscillate back and forth. Since the front was not as low as it should be, any change in air pressure caused the car to sway on the short wheelbase. The higher front also generated less downforce and, in certain conditions, produced lift like an airplane wing. This is what happened in the section between Mulsanne and Indianapolis. The combination of uneven asphalt and the slipstream of the leading car not only reduced the downforce, but also generated lift. When the CLR passed over a higher elevation, the angle of attack changed to 2 degrees positive. This was the critical point. The front began to lift the car, and as it took off, the rest of the prototype had its downforce generation capability nullified, causing a chain reaction leading to the complete flight. After the 1999 edition, the ACO changed the LMGTP rules to prevent such accidents from happening again, in addition to making modifications to the Route Nationale 138, which forms the Mulsanne Straight. The hill where Webber had his accident was lowered by 7.9 meters to avoid problems with the balance and angle of attack of the cars. The FIA, in turn, initiated studies to develop rules that would also help prevent liftoff, not only in endurance but in other categories as well. Mercedes conducted wind tunnel studies with the remaining CLR model, and even without disclosing the results, the brand decided to abandon its program for 1999. Given all the repercussions and consequences, the automaker decided to terminate the project. After 1999, Mercedes never competed with a factory team in the race again. If you enjoyed the video and want more information about Formula 1, IndyCar, and others, subscribe to the channel. Questions, suggestions, or tips are always welcome. Leave them in the comments below. Until next time.